Hello runners, my name's Mark. I've been doing triathlons for the last 15-16 years, teaching yoga for 10. I found yoga really useful holistically for my triathlon, for my running, for my cycling, for my swimming, also with race day nerves. So we're going to record a series of practices over this year for running. In all aspects of running, so hopefully helps with your injuries, maybe helps with your recovery. I'll record specific ones for them over the course of this year and maybe next year. But let's start. So we're going to bring our hands forward towards the front of our space. I'm using a yoga mat. You can use a yoga mat if you want to, you don't have to. See how that feels for you. And just start by just lifting and laying your hands on your knees, okay? Start to feel your body. So maybe it's in the morning before you're running, maybe it's in the afternoon after a run, or later morning after a run, and just move your weight from side to side. Try and get your body feeling a little softer and a bit more connected to how it feels today, okay? And slowly let your back come up into cat posture, and then your belly come down, okay? So obviously when we run, there's obviously some spinal movement rotationally, but there's not a lot of flexion and extension like we're making here. So this is kind of just keeping your spine mobile through this cat-cow posture. And then let your weight come to the middle, okay? And slightly forward over your hands, and then slightly back towards your hips. Now for some runners, kneeling it can be quite tricky, so take your time with this. And come forward again. Slowly coming back. Maybe letting your hips rest on your heels a bit more. If you can take a bit more weight through the back of your body, let your hips rest into your heels a bit more, maybe move a bit from side to side, and if it feels okay, come back here. If this is after a long run, you might find that this position feels quite tight in your quads, okay, so be very gentle or miss this bit out and just keep with your hands on the floor. Let your hands go forward again, and again just gently move from side to side. Take your left leg a little further back. Reach it out. So really point your toes and reach out. And then bring your foot forward towards your knee, towards your elbow, okay? And then let it go back. And bring your knee towards your elbow. Okay, let it go back, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit further back. Kind of mimicking the movement we might make as we run. Obviously we're exaggerating that. We're not going to take our leg up to our elbow as we run. And then let it go back. This time let your left foot land outside your left hand. Okay, so it may be that you can only get it here. Just reach back and bring it a little bit further forward. And then from there, start some movement forwards and backwards here. Now you might feel that in the back of your front leg. Maybe. It depends on how your body's feeling. The thing about yoga is, it really teaches us is that everybody's unique, and your practice each day is unique. Okay. So from here, see if you can tuck underneath the toes of your back foot, getting a bit more flexibility in your back foot. Then move your heel a bit further back, sink your hips a little bit lower. So I kind of often call this like a hammock movement. You're sinking your hips towards the floor. And then turn towards your front leg and raise the hand beside it. Good. Even look, turn and reach back. So opening across the front. You know, as runners, especially if you live in Scotland like me, you might run quite hunched forward. So reach this and open back because of the cold weather, not because we're hunched. Okay, and then let your hand come back down. Okay, let your knee, your back knee rest. And take your front leg back. And again, just move around here. Maybe cat posture again, maybe cow posture again, maybe side to side movements. Hopefully what I'm suggesting is helpful, but if you want to adjust it and adapt it to you, then I'd really encourage that, okay? From there, take your right leg back. Reach a little bit further with your toes. And then bring your knee to your elbow. Take your right leg back, maybe a little further back and a little bit higher up. And then knee to your elbow. Try that again. After the next one, let your right foot land outside your right hand. And free up your movement here. Okay? Remember, if it doesn't land all the way forward, use your hand to bring it forward. Get some forwards and backwards movements happening here. Okay? Moving and swiveling your hips a little bit. Good. And then from there, tuck underneath the toes of your back foot. Move your heel towards the back of the room and sink your hips closer towards the floor. Into this hammock position, okay? Seeing how that feels through the back of your leg, through the inside of this front thigh, into your hip on this side. And then turn to that leg and raise your hand. And let it come back down, okay? Again, any movements that feel helpful, up and down, side to side. And then turn and reach up. Good. Let your back knee come down. Send your front leg back. Take both knees a bit wider. Touch your big toes together. And slowly drift your hips back towards your heels, your elbows towards the floor, and your forehead towards the floor. And again, if this is uncomfortable for you, we do have options I will give you in a moment. Nice. Lift your head, lift your elbows, walk your hands back towards your knees. Bring your knees together again, see if you can sit in a kneeling position. If you find it uncomfortable to kneel, you might want to take a couple of cushions, maybe even double up your cushions, and place them between your hips and your heels, okay? See how that feels for you this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening. Also, a lot of runners can get quite tight here, across the front of the shin. So you can also roll up a throw or have another cushion and place that between your ankle and the floor. And that can help with that too. And you can also have two things, you know, you can have one here and one here. But kneeling, I think, is helpful for us to get this flexion in our knees, but we need to go slowly with everything we're doing, adaptations in our body, okay? Same way we've got to go slowly when we want to get faster, you know, you've got to like gradually build if you're coming back from injury. Bring your hands forward again. You've got a couple more things to do and then that'll be the end of our first session. So tuck underneath your toes. This time when you come to all fours, let your hips drift back towards your heels. And this time we're going to come to down dog. We'll break down dog a bit more over the next few months. But let your knees come up off the floor. So you feel like there's a bit more weight through your big toes. And if your big toes are tight and uncomfortable, that might be a bit uncomfortable, okay? And see if you can take your heels further back and gently press one heel down, followed by the other heel down. Maybe relax your neck and your shoulders here. And all we're going to do from here is try and take one small step forward, like an inch or two, and then squat down again. And then lift your hips up again. Another step forward, and squat down again. Okay. And come up. Forward, small steps, squat down again. Okay, I think a squat's really useful position for us to get comfortable with too. And hips up and forward and squat again. See if you can get up one more time. So this is helping with anything at the back of the legs. So we're just open up. We're not doing long static stretches. I'm not a huge believer in that. I'm just a believer in more movement. And forward again. And sink. It's not just that I'm not a believer in static stretches. There's not amazing research for long static stretches. Okay? But we need to move. Okay? We know that we get tight as runners, so that our bodies need to explore different movements that often make us better. And then let your hips come down to rest. Take your legs a little bit wider. See how that feels. Tap your knees up and down. Give them a shake off from side to side. Shake off your wrists, your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms, your shoulders. Roll through your shoulders. Okay, we're going to do some movement for our shoulders. So bring your legs to a cross-leg position. Again, if that's uncomfortable for you, and it will be if you've been running a lot, you might find your knees are up here. So what I'd encourage you to do is maybe take a bigger cushion or a few cushions, place that underneath your hips so that you can sit with your knees a little lower than your hips if you can, okay? You might need to sit even on the edge of a seat rather than on a big cushion. Clasp your hands toward your chest. Take an inhale. Think about lengthening up. And as you exhale, take your fingers forward, push your palms out, tuck your chin in. Inhale, lift your arms up over your head. Reach a little bit further back. Good. And as you exhale, release your hands, okay? Give them a shake off again. Roll through your shoulders. Clasp your hands toward your chest. Take an inhale. Exhale, take your fingers forward, push your palms out. Bring your hands all the way up. This time maybe a slight lean to one side. See how that feels. Back to the centre and to the other side. Try that one more time either side. Just leaning over and leaning over. Okay, so all these big muscle groups down here that can get, you know, like as we run, everything can get a little bit hunched as we try to power through or run up hills, and we kind of drop our shoulders and lean forward into our running. So just opening up a little bit here. Okay, so let's do a little bit more for our shoulders and then we'll focus on our breath. Bring your hands here, take an inhale. Exhale, take your fingers forward, push your palms out, tuck your chin in. Inhale, come all the way up. This time, take your hands slightly back if you can, so you're in this position. And then let your hands come down behind your back, clasp them, and draw your shoulders away from your ears. If it's helpful to move your head from side to side here, move your head from side to side here, and then you can bring your fingers away from your lower back. And then let them come down. Shake it off, get nice and loose again. Roll through your shoulders. And come back to a seated position. So when we run, there's a few things that I consider when we want to run well. Are we running lightly? So what I want you to do is we're going to take a few moments to focus on our breath. Inhaling slowly in, exhaling slowly out. But try and create a sense of lightness in your body. Okay, so as you inhale, lengthening up, finding gravity so you're not hunched forward or swaying back. As you exhale, letting go of tension and resistance and heaviness. Inhaling, lengthening up. Exhale, letting go of resistance and tension, heaviness. Okay, runners. This is the beginning of hopefully a connection. If you want to ask about anything, then please put it in the comments below. If you have any feedback or comments, you're welcome to share them. Observations actually is really helpful, or questions. Okay, so if you're like, oh, this helped or that helped or this didn't help, feel free to share. Okay. Thank you. We'll have another Yoga for Runners video out very soon. Have a great run or have a great recovery. Go have a bath, whatever you need to do for you.